Hello ladies, and we're back. This is just a reminder that we are 3 months until 2025. And when I tell you your life can change in 3 months, I have witnessed this with my own eyes. I'm going to be sharing a story time of how my life changed from October last year to the beginning of January this year. The transformation was crazy, so much stuff happened. And it's just a testimony to let you know that no matter where you start at this point, you can transform your life, you can live the life of your dreams, you can move mountains, providing your inner voice is on your side and you're listening to that voice. And that's basically the essence of this week's message. It's that voice that's guiding you within. Listening to God's voice that's guiding you within. And that is what took me from being in hospital, living in a shoebox in London, and looking at my window. Honestly, I was facing a wall that was covered in mold. When I looked up, there was a massive tree and also apartment blocks, so I couldn't even see the sky. It was crazy. I was in this tiny little apartment. It was so dark, so miserable. I was so out of alignment, and I was also in hospital every single day for almost all of October because I was having some treatments because I just had a surgery, and it wasn't the best time for me. But there was a voice that was guiding me, there was a voice that was in me, and this voice was God's voice. And because I'd been doing the work, I'd been meditating, I'd been praying, I just was able to not suffer during this period of uncertainty. And I've been in these periods before where things aren't working out, and it's been a really scary time for me. And it's because I've been listening to the voice of fear, and the voice of fear will show up when you've got decisions to make, and it's do I stay small, do I stay safe, or do I take a risk and do I lean into the unknown? And more than likely, leaning into the unknown is where God is guiding you to. And in order to change your life in these next 12 weeks, you're going to have to lean into the unknown. That's what you want to actively do every single day. You want to move away from what you know, because it's that saying, if you want something that you've never had, you're going to have to do something that you've never done before. And when I tell you that God wants to help you, God wants to guide you, you just have to listen, and you have to make space to be able to listen. And part of that is meditation, and I'll share some meditations that can help you. And just doing a bit of meditation every day, even if you start off with 2 minutes, honestly, this will help. The whole purpose of meditation is to create space in your mind so that when you're faced with decisions, when things are coming up for you day to day, there's a bit more space to choose something different. You've given yourself a tiny bit of space. Instead of just leaning into what you know, you're actually, let me just think about this from a different perspective. That's what meditation does for me. It allows me to receive God's guidance throughout the day because I give myself that time. Now, I meditate from anything from 20 minutes to 1 hour most days. But if you're new to this journey, I'd recommend starting off with 2 minutes to 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes. And I'd make 20 minutes your goal. And as I said, I'll share resources, but the meditation is really going to help you observe the voices that are in your mind. And fear is going to, honestly, in these next 12 weeks, fear is going to want to keep you small. But you're going to have to believe in something that you've never believed in to live a life that you haven't lived before. And that is going to require faith. So in order for me to go from living in London, being in hospital every day, to moving overseas, which is what happened in 3 months, that journey was not a smooth journey. God told me during my hospital treatments, he said, you got to move back home. And at this point, I was just what else do I follow? Do I stay in London? Do I do everything that I've been doing? What hasn't worked out for me? Or do I try something different? Do I listen to this voice? I listen to this voice, I move back home. I have to share a room with my mom because there is no space. I did that for, I think, like 6-7 weeks. Actually, it was probably 8 weeks. And then I found an apartment in Spain, a beautiful apartment, and it's looking out at the ocean, and it's everything that I wanted. And when I was looking for my apartment, I didn't see what I wanted. I saw like city apartments, and I was really clear that I wanted ocean view. So I remained faithful. And this is one part of the journey when God has given you a vision and he said, this is what is for you. But day to day, you won't see that. And you know, another way of looking at this is like what you have in your mind, but what you see in the 3D. It's like you can't believe the 3D because it's not the truth. And the more that you're thinking about what you want with a positive, trusting, faithful mindset, you're going to create that energy like, this is possible for me. I'm not seeing what I want. I'm not seeing the job. I'm not seeing the numbers in my bank account. I'm not seeing the relationship. But I have faith and I trust what God has placed in my heart, and I know it's going to happen for me. And that level of confidence, honestly, it's almost like a test. Like God will show you what you don't want to see if you will trust in the vision. And I said no to all of those apartments. It was the 8th of December. And I'm like, okay, is this thing for real? Like, am I actually going to move to Spain? Am I going to find somewhere? And I did. I don't know exactly. I think it could have been even like the 8th or the 9th, whatever. Just shortly after that, I found my dream apartment. And beginning of January, I was moved into my brand new apartment, which was from the beginning of October to the beginning of January. My life looked so different. It was like I had collapsed timelines. Like the new life that I was now beginning versus what it looked like at the beginning of October, being in hospital, not knowing where I was going to move to, when I knew I had to leave London, and moving back home. And you know, the purpose of me moving back home, I realised, was to heal my relationship with my brother, who was living at home as well, and just to spend time with my family, which I hadn't been doing because I'd been living this life of sin. I'd been drinking, in relationships that weren't serving me. Even though I was on the path, I was never living a life that was wholesome. And I tried for so long. And it wasn't until God put me in a situation where I had to have an emergency surgery. I had to be in a vulnerable situation with my health, that I really could see how I was living before and how it wasn't serving me. And I had to change my life. So I say all that to say, no matter what you're going through, if you're going through a rough season, I want you to honestly just stop praying. Stop praying and stop believing in God. And if you believe in God already, start trusting God, because that's where your life's going to change. And the more you can lean into God, the more wholesome your life is going to feel. And even though there's going to be storms, there's always going to be storms, you will have a strong foundation. So that's pretty much the message for this week, is to just be aware of the voice in your head and let God's voice be the leading voice that's guiding you. Because in my whole life experience of doing yoga retreats, of doing healing ceremonies, the most powerful, transformational times have been me leaning into God. Like, the more I've leaned into God, the more my life has changed for the better. And listening to God's guidance for my life. So the anxiety, the depression, the feeling isolated, the feeling alone, the social anxiety, it all fell to pieces when I listened to where God wanted me. When I made space to hear, where is God positioning me right now? The job is not working out for me. Okay, God, where do you want me? Listening to that voice. You're not meant to be small. You're not meant to be kept small. You're not meant to be living this life of suffering without any purpose. Like, if you are in a dark season right now, it is serving you a purpose, but you have to stay tapped in, and not tapped into fear, tapped into faith. So I hope this message resonated with you. I've recorded this many times. I think the enemy just wants me to believe that, me sharing this message is pointless, but I'm going to keep pushing through, because maybe even one person can hear this and it will give them some faith. So yeah, that is my hope. I'll have a blog post to support this. And yeah, until next week, bye bye.